Welcome to the Real Fake News. I'm your host, Jesse Bertel. Today I'm going to discuss neoliberal propaganda in media coverage of presidential politics in a segment I like to call Real Fake News. Let's play Real Fake News. In real news, everyone is so mean to Hillary Clinton that she had to initially refuse to debate Bernie Sanders in New York. CNN reported, New York debate depends on Bernie Sanders' tone. It's mean to point out a candidate's flaws, inconsistencies, record, and platform during a presidential campaign. According to CNN, Bernie Sanders said Hillary Clinton is not qualified to be the president. But Sanders pointed out that he was responding to an attack from the Clinton camp, or as the Washington Post puts it, Sanders' incorrect claim that Clinton called him not qualified for the presidency. The article argues that Sanders misinterpreted an earlier article as an attack from Clinton, where the Washington Post innocently reported Clinton questions whether Sanders is qualified to be president, which in no way meant that Clinton actually questioned whether Sanders is qualified to be president. Sanders also referred to a CNN article which reported Clinton plan, defeat Sanders, then unify Democratic Party. It wasn't an attack, silly Bernie. It's just that Hillary Clinton's campaign is taking new steps to try and disqualify Bernie Sanders in the eyes of Democratic voters, hoping to extinguish the argument that he's an electable alternative for the party's presidential nomination. Or as Hillary Clinton put it, we now live in a neoliberal complaining culture. When your feelings are hurt, you just complain to someone, and customer service will refund your money. Sensitivity censorship is at the heart of the neo in neoliberal. Neoliberalism is actually conservatism disguised by Orwellian doublespeak. There's nothing progressive about it. As George Orwell said in his famous novel 1984, first they steal the words, then they steal the meaning. Hillary eventually agreed to debate Bernie in Brooklyn, but it only proved that Bernie is being mean.
Secretary Clinton called them out. Oh, my goodness. They must have been really crushed by this. And was that before or after you received huge sums of money by giving speaking engagements behind them? So they must have been very, very upset.
Can't they just let me win already? It's my turn to be president. Bernie is just so mean. He hates women.
Whoa, take it easy there. If the truth hurts, don't get mad at the truth.
Hillary attacks Bernie. Bernie corrects the facts. Hillary considers it an attack. Makes sense? Let's play again. In fake news, Bernie's criticisms are absolutely right. Even George Clooney weighed in on campaign finance. According to The Hill, George Clooney said, Sanders is right about obscene amount of money in politics. So he personally stepped up and raised an obscene amount of money to give to Hillary Clinton. Just a little $30,000 to $350,000 a plate fundraiser. No biggie. How brave of him. George Clooney isn't the only one giving large sums of money to Hillary Clinton. But don't ask her about it. Democracy Now! Reported what happened when a Greenpeace activist asked Hillary Clinton about her commitment to refusing money from fossil fuel lobbyists.
Will you act on your words and reject fossil fuel money in the future in your campaign?
Yes, I do not. I have money from people who work for fossil fuel companies. I am so sick. I am so sick of the Sanders campaign lying about me. I'm sick of it.
Take it easy. Was she from the Bernie Sanders campaign? Amy Goodman investigated.
She says you're a Bernie Sanders representative who is trying to bird dog her. Is that true?
It's absolutely not true. I am a democracy organizer for Greenpeace USA. I have no affiliation to the Sanders campaign, and Greenpeace is an independent organization that does not support or oppose candidates.
Bernie Sanders immediately came to her defense.
The activist asked her if she would reject money from the fossil fuel industry, which I have. And the reason I have is that I happen to believe that climate change is one of the great crises facing our planet. But Secretary Clinton said in response to this young woman, she said she was sick, quote, sick of the Sanders campaign lying about, end of quote, contributions she received from the fossil fuel industry. Well, Secretary Clinton owes us an apology. We were not lying. We were telling the truth. The truth is that Secretary Clinton has relied heavily on funds from lobbyists working for the oil, gas, and coal industry. According to an analysis done by Greenpeace, Hillary Clinton's campaign and her super PAC have received more than $4.5 million from the fossil fuel industry. In fact, 57 oil, gas, and coal industry lobbyists have directly contributed to her campaign, with 43 of them contributing the maximum allowed for the primary. And these are not just workers in the fossil fuel industry, these are paid, registered lobbyists.
Clinton disagreed with those facts.
They are misrepresenting my record. I'm just not going to. I feel sorry sometimes for the young people who, believe this. Right. They don't do their own research.
I feel sorry for young people too, but only because they face a world where you're probably going to be president. Hillary Clinton is well versed in Orwellian doublespeak. Time and time again, Clinton is seen on the conservative side of the issues until voters demand otherwise, such as raising the minimum wage. According to the Huffington Post, Hillary Clinton said, raise the federal minimum wage to $12 an hour. $15 an hour is asking too much. You'll take 12 and you'll like it.
I think setting the goal to get to 12 is the way to go, encouraging others to get to 15. But of course, if we have a Democratic Congress, we will go to 15.
Senator, go ahead. Well, I think the Secretary has confused a lot of people. I don't know how you're there for the fight for 15 when you say you want a $12 an hour national minimum wage. Now, in fact, there is an effort. Patty Murray has introduced legislation for $12 minimum wage. That's good. I introduced legislation for $15 an hour minimum wage, which is better.
Oh, burn! Marriage equality?
Do you think New York State should recognize gay marriage?
No.
No. Okay. Would you
War?
If left unchecked, Saddam Hussein will continue to increase his capacity to wage biological and chemical warfare and will keep trying to develop nuclear weapons. Should he succeed in that endeavor, he could alter the political and security landscape of the Middle East, which, as we know all too well, affects American security.
It's a good thing you voted to assassinate Saddam Hussein. The world is a much safer place now that there's peace and stability in the Middle East. Oh, right. Free trade agreements?
One of our top goals is to complete free trade agreements with Colombia and Panama.
I'm looking forward for free trade agreements to be ratified by Congress.
If only someone would have warned her that it was a bad idea.
Panama is a world leader when it comes to allowing wealthy Americans and large corporations to evade U.S. taxes by stashing their cash in offshore tax havens. And the Panama Free Trade Agreement would make this bad situation much worse.
The environment?
Fracking can lead to environmental pollution, including, but not limited to, the contamination of a water supply. Do you support fracking?
Secretary Clinton?
I don't support it unless we can require that anybody who fracks has to tell us exactly what chemicals they are using. So first, we've got to regulate everything that is currently underway.
Senator Sanders,
My answer is a lot shorter. No, I do not support fracking.
To Secretary Clinton's point, there are a number of Democratic governors in many states who say that fracking can be done safely and that it's helping their economies. Are they wrong?
Yes.
The list goes on and on. Her tactics and political opinions seem a bit conservative.
Thank you President George W. Bush for making sure we got the money that we needed to rebuild our city.
Thank you so much for writing me a blank check with tax dollars. How democratic of you. Last year, I sat down with Noam Chomsky. He explained to me how neoliberals have pulled the Democratic Party to the right. Here's an exclusive clip from my documentary film, Left Out, Beyond the Two-Party Horse Race.
Is a second party possible in the United States? The answer to that is not at the moment. Right now, there's only one faction, and it's neither Democrats nor Republicans. It's actually moderate Republicans who are called Democrats. Today's Democrats, so-called New Democrats, the core of the Democratic Party, are what used to be called moderate Republicans. The other faction is still called Republicans, but it's not clear that it's a political party in any traditional parliamentary sense. Its commitment to its constituency, the very wealthy and the corporate sector, is so extreme that its only policies are to try to undermine everything to serve them. That's not parliamentary politics. So it's a one-party state with one-party kind of moderate Republicans.
So Bernie Sanders isn't a radical leftist? He's actually what used to be called a moderate Democrat. Let's play again. In real news, this entire election process is rigged. MSNBC reported.
It's not rigged. It's disenfranchisement. It's not one person, one vote.
What do you call it when voters going to the voting booth doesn't matter
At
as
all.
much as insiders?
A messed up system.
That is a rigged.
It's not rigged.
It is a system rigged against voters. It's a system rigged against people that go to voting booths. It's a system rigged against people that go out to caucuses. It is a system that is rigged in favor of the rich and the powerful and the politically connected. Bernie Sanders wins by 12 percentage points. So he wins 56-44. Now let's look at the delegate count.
He didn't get any super
Put him
delegates.
up. Okay, and after
right?
winning by 12 percentage points,
He's losing.
He loses Wyoming,
He's losing
where
the
it
election.
counts by
Primary.
4 delegates, 11-7. Now, John Heilman, if that is a system that is not rigged against voters and rigged in favor of the rich and powerful, please tell me one that is.
It's only rigged if you think it's a real democracy. Even Donald Trump can tell it's rigged.
Every weekend I see the results come in. Bernie Sanders wins, and he wins, and he wins. And then these people are saying he can't win because the system is rigged.
But according to CNN, it's Bernie Sanders who's rigging the system.
Really, I think when you talk about rigging the system, that's what Senator Sanders is trying to do now. Hillary Clinton has won in the popular vote by a wide margin. She's got more than 2 million votes over Senator Sanders in all the contests when you add them all up. She's won more states. She's won more pledged delegates. So now that's forcing Senator Sanders to go out and talk about the idea that he wants to try to flip super delegates and get him to overturn the will of the people as expressed through who's won the most contests.
CNN saying that Bernie Sanders' plan for victory is rigging the system just because it's working is like a racist Southern teacher telling her only black student he's cheating every time he gets an A on a test. Let's make something real clear here, Bernie Sanders. You will never pass my class because your kind don't do research. I feel sorry for you. I do. Yikes. Let's play one more time. In fake news, much like many of the other states where Hillary Clinton won, New York experienced many examples of voter suppression and possibly even election fraud. Democracy Now! Reported. New York primary, chaos at polling sites, broken scanners, whole blocks purged from voter rolls. But many New Yorkers are demanding action. Slate reported. Brooklyn election officials suspended for reportedly botching voter roll, purging 125,000 names. At least Brooklyn is holding someone accountable, or as the New York Post put it, Board of Elections official scapegoated for voting mess. Even Hillary Clinton is calling for an easier, more streamlined voting process. According to The Hill, bashing GOP, Clinton calls for automatic voter registration. After all, voter suppression is a conservative agenda that just happened to work in Clinton's favor. The real difference is that conservatives are open about their support for voter suppression with their push for voter ID laws and gerrymandering. Neoliberals, on the other hand, are more comfortable with lying and changing their position however it suits them. So how does a neoliberal conservative like Hillary Clinton become so popular among Democrats? Noam Chomsky explained to me how elites manufacture the consent of the people through media propaganda. Here's another clip from my documentary film, Left Out Beyond the Two-Party Horse Race.
Corporate censorship is what you see all over the media system, but it's considered freedom of speech because the way that's interpreted today, freedom of speech means the right of the New York Times and CBS to censor anything they don't like. They produce an audience to advertisers. The advertisers are major corporations. If you look at the elite media, say the New York Times, the product that they're producing is elite audiences, what's called sometimes the political class. The elite media are the ones that set the agenda for others. If you're a small town newspaper in Ohio, what you do is you look at what the New York Times is putting on their front page, and that's your news. So what you have is elite agenda-setting corporations which sell privileged audiences to other corporations. This is all closely intertwined with government. There's a constant interaction and flow between the top levels of government and the top levels of the corporate sector or the banking sector and so on.
One guy goes from the White House and becomes an ABC anchor. It's all very incestuous.
Well, you take a look at a system like that, what do you expect to come out? You expect something to come out which reflects the interests of the sellers, of the buyers, of the quasi-independent structures like government that are associated with them. Read Orwell. Everyone's read Animal Farm, but not many people have read the introduction, which was not published. It was found in his unpublished papers decades later. In it, what he says is, in free England, ideas can be suppressed without the use of force. The press is owned by wealthy men who have every reason not to want to see certain ideas expressed. If you've gone to the best schools and universities, you have instilled into you the understanding that there are certain things it just wouldn't do to say, or even to think. I'm adding that part. I think that's pretty much accurate. That's the propaganda model. It basically says things more or less work the way any rational person would assume, looking at the structure of the institutions.
The media and DNC are trying to manufacture this election to fit the neoliberal conservative agenda. Hillary Clinton and the media paint the picture of Bernie Sanders supporters as young and ignorant. But the truth is they aren't all just a bunch of Bernie bros, as the talking points would have us believe. They are a large, diverse, disenfranchised electorate of working Americans who, when unified, are a powerful force that might not vote at all if they aren't given a choice that will stand up to Wall Street. So they definitely won't vote for Hillary Clinton unless by some miracle Elizabeth Warren decides to be her running mate. What's that? Breaking news coming in from Vanity Fair. Hillary Clinton hasn't ruled out Elizabeth Warren as a running mate. Oh, you're good. Nice try, Hillary. You may have proposed, but Elizabeth Warren hasn't said yes quite yet. We need a president who will hold everyone equally accountable, including police, CEOs, politicians, and bankers. Bernie Sanders hasn't lost. Just because he didn't win New York doesn't mean there isn't a clear path to the presidency. No one thought he would come this far, but he's narrowly behind Clinton, even with all the voter suppression and without counting the independents, who can't vote in many state primaries. There are still many states left, so regardless of what the news media says, keep in mind that Bernie Sanders has raised more money than Hillary Clinton without the use of super PACs or corporate lobbyists. Meanwhile, Clinton's policies are starting to look sensible to Republican lobbyists, such as the infamous Koch brothers. In case you needed more proof that she's a conservative rebranded as a Democrat, The Hill reported that Charles Koch said, "It's possible Clinton would be a better president than a Republican." Progressives need to stop calling themselves liberals. That term has been hijacked by conservative wolves in neoliberal sheep's clothing. Bernie Sanders is the first major presidential candidate in my lifetime with a real commitment to tackling the necessary progress this country needs to make on issues such as endless wars, climate disruption, economic inequality, and affordable education. The media's treatment of Bernie Sanders is a clear reflection of how afraid power elites are of him winning the nomination. So if you're feeling disenfranchised, stay positive and try to read between the headlines. If the news media makes you feel like it's pointless to fight back, turn off the real news and tune in to the real fake news. And that's the real fake news. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to the channel.
Real fake, real fake, real fake, real fake news.
The Real Fake News is made possible in part through the support of viewers like you. If you like this program and would like to see more of programs like these, please show your support by clicking on the support button and donating any amount. Thank you.